Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Um, so you don't believe in God, right?
No.
Okay. Why is that?
There's no evidence of it.
No evidence. Okay. Well, how do you know that the sun is real?
Because we can see it. Do
Have
you
you
have
been
evidence
there?
of God, sir? Do you have evidence of God?
Do you have evidence that the sun is real?
We can see it.
But have you been there? How do you know it's not just a big light bulb in the sky?
We can demonstrate its luminosity. With telescopes, we can see its luminosity. We can measure its brightness. We can measure its mass.
But have you
We
been
can
there?
measure it through physics. We don't have to be there, sir.
No. You
Look,
kind of do.
I don't have to be in Australia to know that it exists. I can infer it based on the evidence that we have available to us.
But what
Right.
if the map didn't exist? Then what?
That's the map of what? Australia? We can infer it based on other data, right?
The map of the whole entire
Videos,
world.
photos, right? People's testimonies about it, right? Experiences. That's how we infer things based on the data. So we don't have to be in the sun to know that it's there.
If there was a map of the whole entire world and somebody said that Australia existed and New York and Mexico, would you believe it?
If there is enough evidence for those places, then yes, I would believe it.
What type of evidence?
Any kind of data or facts to demonstrate it exists. Photos, videos, sight witnesses,
Is there a
experiences.
video of the sun?
What?
Is there a video of the sun?
Yes.
Okay, how do we not know it's AI generated? AI is pretty good.
Okay. So you're asking a question. How do we know that this is all real and this is all just a game?
We're experiencing it.
Well, you're right. There's no way to conclusively or prove that we're not in an hallucination or a game or matrix. You're right.
Yeah.
We could all be dreaming right now. However, we can still make statements about what we observe. Right? We can still make rational assessments about the world around us by using the data we have. As far as we see, there's no data that the sun is a light bulb or that God is real. So do you have evidence of God?
Obviously, I don't. I don't have a textbook.
Okay, so why do you believe in God?
I mean, solely for the fact that we just exist.
So we exist, therefore God? That's your argument?
How come? Okay, we haven't created our own species yet, or ever. I don't think that's literally ever
Ryan,
gonna
how old are
happen.
you, buddy?
I mean, 19.
Okay. You need to come up with a better argument, right? Because all you're saying is, "Oh, we exist, therefore God." That's what a toddler can say.
Have we
I'm
ever
asking
made our
for
own
something
species?
rational, something convincing and compelling that would convince us that yes, it's most likely the case that this God exists rather than not. So far, all you're saying is, "Oh, we exist, wow," which is great. I agree with you. We exist, but we can exist and there be no God. Right. So we need a better reason to believe it's God over no God.
All right. So, I'm gonna.
You're not ready for this conversation though. So go back, go learn, right? It's what this is all about. Learning. Go learn science, go learn religion, philosophy. You can go back to us in debate. It's all about learning. Hello?
What's up?
Hey,
Hello? What's up?
can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Are we good?
Yes.
All right. Oh,
Yes.
we're lagging. What is my what?
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, how you doing? Question: Why is it that you think God is imaginary?
No evidence for it.
What evidence do you want?
Any.
So you don't believe in God, or what?
No, I don't believe in God, sir. Do you have evidence for God, or should I just kick you?
Nobody has answer to many things in the Bible. That doesn't mean that they're not real.
Okay, so what is your evidence of God?
Nobody has that evidence. That doesn't mean they
Have a
didn't
good day,
exist,
sir.
though.
Have a good day. Guys, please come up if you have an argument for God. Only come up if you have an argument. Keep tapping.
Yo,
Hey,
I have evidence of God.
cool.
So let me explain this. When you get a brain shift, the mark of the beast, you upload into iCloud heaven.
Hey,
Hello.
come on.
What's up?
How old are you? How old are you?
So the reason 18.
What year were you born?
Hello? 2006.
Okay. Yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, so the reason I find the atheistic worldview is
You're cutting out. We cannot hear you, sir. You're cutting out. Yeah.
here. Let me move. All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
Hello?
You got bars now.
So is it good or
Not really.
okay? So pretty much why I'm not an atheist is that the atheistic worldview to even like bootstrap to get to that worldview or to discern it is impossible because it forfeits any possible justifications for axioms, things like logic, causality, things that we see.
No, it's not. Can you demonstrate the contradiction in atheism?
Well, I would just say it's a like bootstrapping problem. You can't even discern
Look,
the
you're saying
atheistic
it's
worldview
impossible. Look, Cringe, you're saying
because the
it's
atheistic
impossible.
worldview.
You're saying it's impossible for atheism to hold true. Show the contradiction. If you're going to say it's impossible for the atheist to be correct, show why it's impossible. Don't just assert that I can't ground or justify logic, which doesn't mean anything. Logic is not a proposition. It's not, you can't justify logic. It's not a proposition. That's like saying justify rocks. It's not a proposition. It's a noun. So,
Right.
demonstrate that God is the only
Right.
way or go away. Because I don't have time for this tag shit.
Well, so my argument is pretty much that when you start a worldview, right, you assert things like, is the worldview, is the universe teleological or disteleological, right? And if you assert it's disteleological, then you've already forfeited
Give
any
the
justifications for
contradiction in
axioms.
atheism. Give the contradiction in atheism or go away. You want to hear this shit anymore. I'm tired of this tag argument. It's bad. If you can't give the contradiction, there's nothing wrong with atheism.
Right. So I'm guessing you have like an empirical worldview.
All right, this is your last chance to give the contradiction, or I'll just kick you. Okay. What's the contradiction in atheism?
So in atheism, right, you work off a base of empiricism, right? And that couldn't be possible
it's incredible
because
how these people operate, right? They just can't answer a question. It's like they can't think critically. Guys, when you say something is impossible, that implies that there's a P and not P, right? You're negating and affirming the same proposition, right? You can't just say, oh, atheists can't ground logic or justify logic. First of all, that means nothing. Second of all, prove it. You can't. Logic is just a brain process. It's just a mental process. It's natural, just like everything else in my view. It's natural. Please keep tapping. Hey, how are you?
Doing pretty well. I'm 21, just in case you have to know the age. So, okay, so the reason I feel like atheism is illogical is because not having a God means that the world either always has existed or it's just came into existence on its own. And that's illogical, but based off of the study of the world around you. I mean, nothing that we've ever seen in life on our own studies, our own logical rationalities of how the world operates, nothing has ever just came into existence out of nowhere since the beginning of
Okay.
creation.
So first of all, that's a black swan fallacy. Second of all, it's a straw man of what atheists believe necessarily. We don't believe that something came from nothing. What we're saying is the universe could have always been, or if there was a cause to the universe, it could have been something natural. Your job is to demonstrate that God did it. Can you do that for us today?
So to define God, you would have to then basically whatever was the creator of the creation that we have today. So logically,
What's your evidence of God now? What's your evidence of God now? Can you give it?
yeah, my evidence of God is the creation.
It's not evidence. How? Like, evidence is demonstrable, right? Evidence is something that falsifies something. It's falsifiable. You can't just say, look, it's created, therefore God. You're assuming it's created in the first place. How do you know it's created? And how do you know that God created it?
Are we being serious? How do we know that life is created? Do you know how
Yeah.
complex life is? Have you ever been able to create a planet and have it operate where it works perfectly, and you have humans who have brains and they function and they rationalize? Is that not proof
Yeah,
of
those are
creation?
explained through nature.
Okay,
Laws
let
of
me ask you this.
physics explains that.
Would you ever walk into a building and be like, hey, this building's been here forever? No, logically, you're going to rationalize that this building was created with an intention by a person.
Right, but the entire universe was not necessarily created with intention, right?
In
Because
your worldview, I don't believe
we
in
know life is natural. We know that planets are natural. The sun's natural. There's no evidence of some intention behind the planet.
I don't believe it.
believe in that.
In your worldview, maybe I don't believe in other planets. I think that they actually are illogical. They go against the worldview that I believe. I don't believe that there's a purpose for those other planets, and I can't prove that they exist. I believe in
Okay.
that.
Oh my gosh. Do you have evidence that God created this versus naturalism?
Nature is the design of a creation, naturally.
Okay. Do you have evidence of God's design, please? Can you give
I'm
me
answering.
evidence now?
I'm answering your question. The design of nature. You asked.
When you sit there and say everything's designed, therefore God, it's a non sequitur, right? You need to give it an evidence-based argument that follows, right? So far, all you're saying is God did it. It's not a good argument. No, that's not going to be convincing to anybody, right? You need more data, right? Look at the trees. Hey, how are you?
Pretty good, you?
Good.
So, how do you think we were created? Like, do you believe in the Big Bang Theory? Like, what do you believe?
We were not created in my eyes. I don't think anybody's created us from clay. I think that the universe is always here and we're just part of a process that's ongoing.
Well, yeah,
Do you have
but
evidence of God?
well, I don't base my life on 100% proof.
Okay.
I just
Jacob, do you have any evidence of God? I'm not asking for proof, just any data that convinces you that God's real.
I just believe, everything has to have a prior state, because, if you if you look at it like this, we didn't just pop into existence, right? So,
Okay. So how did God get there? Who made God?
well, I'm not saying he's real. I'm just saying it's the best logical thing to conclude, because
I can't do with this right now.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
How about we remove the word God, man, from the equation and add ultimate source of existence.
No, we're going to talk about God
Hey, hey, hey. What's up, man? So, God is not imaginary, okay? He is the reason why we are here. Here is the reason why we are safe. The proof is in the pudding. What has led us to get this far? What has given you the right to be able to conversate and to say that God is, in the first place? If it wasn't for something that led us to
Just laws of
this point.
physics. Do you have evidence of God now?
Yes, the evidence is all around you. I'm asking you, try to prove that he doesn't exist. If he is the one that
The evidence is around me.
got us
Where?
as
What's
far
the
as
evidence?
a people. Sorry, go
So,
ahead.
what is the evidence of God? Stuff around me, like the cars, trees. That's all evidence of God.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the human prosperity, What has allowed us to exist to this point of civilization?
Science. Science has helped us. But
No,
again, when you
science
say,
led to atomic bomb and destruction.
well, religion leads to all kinds of wars who use science as a weapon. The fruits of science are being used by religious as a weapon to do
Yes.
harm. Okay.
So,
So it's not that science creates the bombs. People do.
exactly. So,
Okay.
but
So
what allowed
let's
us?
get back to the argument. What's the evidence of God, sir?
The evidence is the unequivocal, undeniable properties of the word that has transformed the lives of humans on this planet.
The word? What word?
Yes,
The Bible?
the Bible. The Bible is the
Okay.
word.
How do you know the Bible is true?
The word is, well, the Bible is God. You understand? It is, and then God came
Here.
here, and it was
Here.
Jesus.
How do you know the Bible is true when it makes those statements?
Okay, because, well, I mean, can we agree that the Bible does hold wisdom and it does hold human truth
Sir,
and stuff?
I really am looking for evidence now that the Bible's correct. I don't care if it sounds cute to you.
No, I'm not saying it sounds cute. I'm saying it has transformed everything we live. We can see it in the way it transforms our lives.
Yeah,
It
turned me into an atheist. So do you have evidence of God now before I kick you?
Atheists don't have no clue what they're talking about. You don't have no proof he doesn't exist,
That doesn't mean he does. So
but it
let's
doesn't
get
mean
to
he
the
doesn't.
evidence now, please, and provide the evidence for
You
God.
wouldn't
or I
have
kick
gone
you.
far with science if there wasn't a way for us to get along as people.
Yeah, we don't need Christianity to get along. Christianity actually harms more than it does good.
No,
It
that's
calls for
wrong.
slavery.
I really disagree with that, and I hope that you can seek salvation through Jesus Christ. For he is for everybody, and he's what
Sir,
will lead
please,
us
you're not going to
to.
sit here and preach, right? Like I don't care about your preaching. I want evidence, right? I'm seeking the data. You have zero. All you have is, oh, read the Bible. I hope you have revelation, salvation. And that sounds cute. And I understand where you're coming from, but it's not going to convince somebody rational, right? Simply suggesting the Bible is true isn't evidence that it is true. We need more than just a book, right? So I'll give you one more chance, Al, to really redeem yourself and give evidence.
Okay. Like I said, the word is God.
Okay.
Then
Have a good day, sir.
God came.
Dr. Seuss's Cat in the Hat is real because it says so in the story, right? Harry Potter's real, folks. It says so. The book is Harry Potter. Every time I read the book of Harry Potter, a wizard gets its wings.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey. Yeah, I'm sorry my mic is a little bit garbage, but yeah. I'm 24, born in the year 2000, obviously. But yeah, so you said God is imaginary. How would you defend this proposition?
there's no evidence of it. There's contradictions and the omniparadoxes, the problem of evil, divine hiddenness issues. I would say it's unlikely that God's real.
Okay, so what if I was to give an argument that suggests God being real and all the counter arguments you have, like omnipotence paradox, we can go over that, but I'd rather give the argument first.
Sure.
All right, bet. So here's how it's gonna go, right? Based off our observation and based off the way we observe the universe, everything we observe is a contingent thing, a contingent being, and I believe it'll lead towards something necessary to be the cause of these contingent things, right? Because I don't believe in an infinite regress. If it was infinite regress, time and so on, which are intertwined with causality when it exists, something eternal or infinite wouldn't have a cause nor beginning or end. Therefore, it must lead towards a necessary being, something outside of this. I believe like a PSR would be like very applicable here in this situation. But yeah, I believe this will point towards a God, and I believe most of the stuff that like goes against this, like the omnipotence paradox and so on, can easily be like debunked. And we not get into that a little bit. Wanna be? That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't mean the omnipotence paradox necessarily. I meant the omni paradoxes. Like, how can God know all things yet there be free will? But let's, besides that point, there doesn't need to be, God does not need to be the necessary being. There could be, nature itself could be necessary. So the contingency argument fails. I mean, maybe everything's necessary, right? We don't have to hold to God being necessary. That's just unnecessary.
I mean, God being
ESRs also can be just easily rejected. I mean, we don't have to agree to that nonsense.
Okay, but let's say for God being necessary, whatchamacallit, that's kind of a byproduct of being all powerful. If you were to lack limits, you would be existing in every possible world or be necessary for all reality. But whatchamacallit, even for what you said, for nature, what would you describe nature to be?
Everything that is natural. Space, time, matter, energy.
Okay. So do you not believe all these things are reliant on to another? Just like time when
No, time does not rely on anything. Space and time is just there. Perhaps it's necessary. We don't know.
Time is reliant on cause.
No, there's no cause of time necessarily.
What did you define time to be?
The measurement of motion.
Okay, so wouldn't it have to be reliant on motion in order for this thing to be necessary? Or in order for
That's just the definition of time.
Yes, and it's reliant on cause to be there in order for.
No, you're confusing. You're confusing contingency with causation, right? Are you talking about causal dependency? Or are you talking about
contingent? Is something that's reliant, is reliant on something that exists. In order,
we can just say the universe itself is necessary. It could not have been another way.
Okay, but the thing is, right, based off our observation, that isn't the most likely outcome.
Why? What's your argument for that?
Yeah, that's what I said. Based off empiricism, right? Based off the way we observe everything within reality, like just the way we walk around, we see things. They are always reliant on something for its cause.
But you're not talking about the universe in totality, which is, in my view, necessary. It couldn't have been another way. Period. Okay, as you say God's necessary, I can say the universe is necessary. So you got to do better than that. This is a bad argument.
Okay, so obviously you can hold that position, but mine is more likely just based off what we observe. It will lead for a most likely outcome.
What do we observe that gives us more evidence for God?
Okay, so trees, crops, people, so on are evidence of contingent things, which will point towards a necessary being. Because again,
yes, and we can say the necessary being is the universe itself, right?
Yes. Well, yeah. What would you describe the universe to be?
Space, time, matter, and energy. We went over this already, right? The totality of all things.
Yeah, again, all those things are still reliant.
They're reliant on the universe itself, and the universe itself is necessary, period, right? It's just natural. You don't need God.
It's not necessary if these definitions are intertwined, needing certain things in order for this thing to exist. Time can't exist if cause doesn't exist. Cause can't exist if time doesn't exist. Same thing with space and time. These things are both intertwined and reliant on each other in order to.
No, they don't rely on each other. They're just one entity, right? We can consider the entire universe one entity. We call it space-time, or quantum state.
Okay. So you think that time and cause or whatever are both just one concept? They're not distinct from each other.
What? Time and cause? I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
So you're saying that everything is one, right?
We can consider the universe one entity. It's not reliant on something else. It's its own thing.
Oh yeah, obviously you believe that, but again.
Okay, great. So what's your argument that God is necessary and not the universe, right? That's what we want here.
God is necessary because that's a byproduct of being all-powerful. If you're all-powerful, you would like limits.
Okay, unicorns are necessary because they're all unicorn. They have one big horn. I can make up anything I want to and say that is necessary. Okay. I want evidence in favor of God. We need more argumentation than just God's necessary.
What would you define all-powerful to be?
I don't believe in something I don't think that anything can be all powerful. I think that's nonsense.
Even if you believe there's nothing that exists that's all powerful, what would you define that term to be?
Doing all things.
Okay,
And
so
you're-
you're doing all things, being a necessary being, which would mean to exist in every possible world or reality, being existent or necessary upon your existence, would mean you would have to follow under this criteria in order to be all powerful. That's just a byproduct of that. Just like being all powerful.
An unnecessary property, right? We don't need something to be all powerful. That's useless.
Why is that useless?
Can we get back to the evidence for God instead of just defining God into existence?
Fine. But you're not really, yeah, that's cool. But you're not really like going against the point of the universe, right? If that's the thing that's quote unquote necessary for our reality, again, these things are still intertwined on multiple different things. I said again.
They're intertwined. Who cares? We just say the universe is necessary. Period.
Okay, so if it's intertwined and based on other things, it's going to be contingent again.
What do you mean? How is it? What is the universe contingent on?
It's contingent upon time and causality.
No, that's the definition of the universe, right? That's like saying God is contingent on humanity, or God is contingent on the Bible, or God is contingent on his properties of all powerfulness.
That's a completely different, going over something necessary.
No, it's not. It's the same thing. I can say God's dependent on his all powerfulness. It's the same shit you're doing with the universe.
Again, when it comes to God, there's a different type of logic I can apply there. We can go over that later, but within this context of the universe, something that's intertwined, all right, something that follows, that needs cause in order to exist, which wouldn't apply to God. And again, all powerful.
The universe neither does need a cause.
You said what?
The universe doesn't need a cause either. So try again, sir.
Yeah, again, the terms you give are both restricted, needed some type of cause. And yet again, yes, all those things are both.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand this anymore. This is like utterly insane. He's just yapping.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay.
Okay, so God is in existence of the earth. There's, without anything around you, everything around you is something, right? So what makes you think that there's a bunch of stuff around you and there isn't no God? The earth is around the universe. So there's a God because the universe is made by God. An evil spirit is made by God.
Can you demonstrate that God is real?
An evil spirit is made by God.
All right, have a good day. More yapping. I'm tired of all the yapping, guys. Hello?
Oh.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. Hello?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think God is real.
What is happening today, guys? I'm so... Why are people doing that to me? Bro, shuffling papers. Let me get my argument ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Unfortunately.
That's crazy. So I have a question. Science says it is 14 billion years old, the universe, and isn't atheism based on specifically science?
No.
How is atheism not based off of science?
Atheism has nothing to do with science. It's just a mere lack of belief in God. Science is one method to truth, but it's not the only one.
So then what are the other methods of truth?
Well, there's all kinds of theories of truth, and there's all kinds of religious ways, right? Faith, people say faith can get you to truth. Prayer, but I think science is the best.
Okay, so you wouldn't believe that the universe is 14 billion years old. You think it was created and it was or not
Nothing was
created, it
created.
was
The universe, it's not that the universe is necessarily 14 billion years old and it began 14 billion years ago. It's just how far back we can see. We don't see further back than that. So we don't know if the universe began or not.
So do you believe in the yin and the yang, where you have to have one to have another and you have to have nothing to have something, basically opposite forces?
No, I don't believe in the yang yin, no. Do you have any evidence of God, though?
Yes, the yin and the yang goes for about everything that goes in the earth, even science. I mean, you have to have something to have nothing. You have to have light to have dark. You have to have something to have nothing. And the universe
So to have God, you have to have no God, right?
Yes, but that's what I'm saying is God is none of the above.
Okay,
It's
well,
not
then we
it's not
win.
something or nothing.
We win. No God. There's no God because in order for God to be real, there has to be no God.
Yo, what's up?
Hi.
So I would just personally say that to prove anything is basically impossible. We can only go based off the evidence we have around us to form a conclusion. Would you agree or no?
Depending on certain truths, yes. But go ahead. What's your point? What's your evidence? Go.
Okay, my point is like the Bible to me is a book of history. And in the same way that I trust that the Constitution was written by the founding fathers in 1776, based off the historical evidence, I would also agree that the historical events in the Bible did happen due to the eyewitnesses that wrote about it, etc.
All right. How old are you?
18. I turned 18 this year.
All right. Yeah. So, how do you know the Bible is true?
How do you know the Constitution was? How do you know the things in the Constitution are true? I mean, it's everything that every decision you make in your life is faith based.
Name one.
Okay, when you go to the pharmacy to pick up those pills, you are trusting that somebody did their job correctly. You are trusting that that's correct.
Trust is not faith. First of all, I don't just merely have trust that they're doing their job. The evidence demonstrates that pharmacists typically do their job. The evidence shows us that most times when I go to the store, I'm getting regulated drugs, right? That's the point. There is evidence behind the things I do in every single case. I don't need to I don't need to have proof of everything I do, but as long as there's evidence, it's not faith at all.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I would say in the Bible, it's talking about historical events and things that we know happened because of the eyewitnesses that wrote about it.
But you just have a story that says there's eyewitnesses. You don't actually have any eyewitness testimonies. Just a story. How do you know the story's true?
In the same way that I know the Constitution was written by a certain amount of people
The
or whatever.
Constitution is not a story, okay? It's a declaration of rights and things like that. We're not talking about a declaration of rights. We're talking about a storybook that tells us God exists. He did certain things. He walked on water. He talked to donkeys, all that shit. There's no evidence of that. The Bible is myth. It's not real in my eyes. I mean, Noah's Ark isn't real. Never happened. We need more than just, let's just trust the story because it says something. That's not evidence.
I mean, that's fair enough. I would just say that, yeah, I don't know. I live my life a little bit differently.
You live your life without evidence or of anything, just blind belief?
No, I wouldn't say it's blind belief. I
Well,
mean,
it
I just
is
have.
because you haven't presented any evidence of God today. You just yapped the whole time, which is fine. But the problem is that there's a better way to do it. It's called science. Science is a way better and more fruitful method to truth. The Bible
So
is not.
how would you recommend to me that I go about this and truly
Learn.
determine whether or not the Bible's true or not? How can you be
Learn.
sure it's not, or how can you be sure it is?
Learn, gain context, understand history, understand science, understand more about the world. And then you can make better choices and decisions as to whether or not it's reliable.
I know, but how do you
Learn, keep learning, learn about the world. That's how solutions occur. You learn.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hi.
All right, so one of my questions is, do you believe in like a divine power?
Like Dragon Ball Z, the Goku guy?
No, I'm
Okay.
talking about like natural, like the natural divine power of the world, like nature, for instance.
I don't know if nature is powerful. I think nature just exists.
All right,
What's your
but
evidence of God, though?
it's divine though. So like for example, I don't necessarily believe in a God, but I believe in like the balance of nature. And you can see
Okay,
that.
well, how about you balance that? Next. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
A lot of these people I know are kind of coming on here and just rambling about whatnot.
Well, you're cutting in and out, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you now. When you leave the app, we can't hear you, sir. You have to stay in the app.
Hello?
We hear you again.
All right, so my evidence basically towards God is kind of through the use of science, I guess through your perspective almost. A lot of scientists, especially over the past like century, have studied like I guess the origin of humans. So I'm going to start with that. The origin of humanity is about 4 billion-ish years old. And a lot of the discoveries of the
No.
You disagree with that?
Well, we began about 4 million years, not billion. But go ahead.
Okay, 4 million years. That's my bad. About 4 million years ago. And with the molecular structure and evolution of our, I guess, cells and everything that kind of makes up the human body, a lot of that is told by scientists not possible. A lot of that fine tuning is not possible without there being some type of intelligent, whether it's a god, whether it's a whatever you, I guess, label that high power, there has to be some type of intelligent being for
Why?
for
Can you
such
give the, can you
for
just
such
give the evidence? Can you just give the evidence?
I mean, the evidence in a lot of I guess sciences, there are plenty of neurosurgeons and doctors and people who are in the field of science who actually have experienced patients, for instance, which is evidence. Patients experiencing, I guess, conscious outside of the physical body.
Okay, you're talking about out-of-body experiences, which are
Yes.
well documented. There's no evidence that these are supernatural events. We can induce them in people, actually. We can now induce out-of-body experiences with hallucinogens. There's nothing supernatural in my eyes about those events. That's not convincing to me. We want more than just, oh, look, people have dreams, therefore God.
So yeah, I guess I kind of just view it differently in that sense.
But why? Why do people say this all the time? Oh, I see things differently. Why? What makes you think that this is good reasoning when we can explain it better elsewhere? We can explain these things without God. We don't need God for intelligence or fine-tuning either. Fine-tuning doesn't even exist necessarily for life. And if it did, well, there might be a natural reason why there's fine-tuning, perhaps a multiverse, or some natural reason why the universe is this way. Maybe there's a million different universes, each arising out of, naturally arising, giving rise to different laws of nature. And we happen to be the one which exists now, and the other ones died out, like natural selection of universes, kind of. We don't know. We can't assess if there's a God or not based on the fact that we exist this way. We only have one universe to go by.
And I guess that evidence at the end of the day has to come down to like probability, in my eyes at least. I don't know if they're in your eyes. Do you believe in the laws of the universe and laws of nature?
Yeah.
You believe in those things? For the law of the universe and the law of nature to exist now and continue to exist, those laws of nature and universe had to exist before the existence of the universe. And for laws, in our definition of laws, to exist before the existence of the universe, there has to be an intelligent mind.
No.
Laws don't.
Let me explain why this is wrong. The laws of physics, the laws of nature, they don't exist beyond our minds. In other words, they are descriptive, not prescriptive. So when physicists go in the lab and use the laws of physics to arrive at mathematical equations or mathematical answers, they aren't extracting those answers directly from the universe. They're thinking about them with their mind. The laws are descriptive things that our minds generate, our brains generate. They're used to describing the world. Math also comes from the mind and the brain, in my eyes. So you don't need some God to ground these things. You can have human beings do it. And what we call the laws of nature only exist in the mind. They aren't real entities out there. What we call the external world is unknown, or the ontology, the nature of the universe that we call the universe is unknown to us. But laws of nature are ways we describe it. We can't be outside of ourselves to know what else is out there. So, does that make sense to you? We're kind of just beings that describe the world. The laws don't exist outside of the mind. Do you agree? Do you think that's plausible?
Yeah, of course I believe that's plausible. Like,
okay,
that I do see where your point is going, and like I see like through that perspective for sure. Like I definitely see that.
Okay, great. So then give us the evidence of God then, or frankly, this conversation is going nowhere.
I mean, as I see through your perspective, there has to be some type of, stasis within the argument for you to see through mine. It can't just be one-sided where someone's seeing through someone's perspective.
All right, so the next person here.
Hello.
Hey.
So, would you agree that the English language is created?
Not created, it's just something our brains do, right? It's like we didn't create legs. It's just something we have, just like language, something our brains do.
We make words. We make,
we generate words, yes, but we didn't create them Language itself.
It is. I mean, the English language is something of our. It didn't just pop out of nowhere.
Okay, great. So what's your evidence of God now?
The English language is made up of 26 characters. Look how many characters DNA is in DNA. If you look at it, the alphabet of the English language, and if you were to look at the proverbial alphabet of the individual DNA of individual characters and creatures throughout nature and how diverse it is.
Okay, so your argument is DNA has letters that we describe with therefore God? That's your argument?
I'm talking about the individual chains. They're each.
Yeah, DNA is just a fucking molecule, right? DNA is just a fucking molecule. That's all it is. It's not a language. It's not a code. It's not magic. It's just a fucking molecule. Just like every other molecule in the world. It's not magic. We describe the different nucleotides and the nucleic acids with letters. But that's just something we do as human beings to describe it. So I want evidence of God now. I don't care about DNA. I want evidence of God.
That may not be. The evidence is created.
All right. Have a good day, sure.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? I would like your take, unless you want me to go first, but gotcha. So I don't know exactly what you mean by it. Could vary. Like I could say, like I believe God is real, but how so? So how do you like? What do you mean by imaginary? Like we could just.
It's not real. It's made up in your mind. Are you driving?
Nah, I'm chilling.
Okay, great. So what's your evidence of God?
I view God as like a form of frequency, not no like superficial BS, but I view it as like like heaven and hell. I guess I'm not sure if I can say that, but yeah, like the levels of if I'm sad or angry versus if I'm feeling like joyous or appreciative on things or.
So, I'm angry. Is that God?
No, I feel like you'll be in a hellish state.
Oh, so that's hell. So when I'm happy, that's heaven?
The more happier, it's not necessarily levels, but it's more like you'll feel the frequency that you'll feel.
Hear that, guys? Every time you're sad, you go to hell. Every time you're happy, you're going to heaven. Hello? Hello? Keep tapping, guys, to get more people in here.
Yo,
How old are you?
I'm 25,
What year were you born?
1999.
Okay, what's your evidence of God?
All right, so what's your definition on imaginary? Do you think God does not exist?
Yeah, it's not real.
All right, so think of this as something conceivable. If you have the greatest idea, right? That means you have the possible greatest concept. You could not think of anything greater than this concept. And that means, therefore, if something was not greater than this concept, that means that concept would exist inherently. That concept would be defined as God. You got any contentions?
Oh, so God's big boobs? That's what I thought of when I thought of the greatest thing
Yeah,
possible.
I don't think concepts. I don't think because what's God? If you think boobs can be something that have our lower hierarchy, so they could be something interacted physically. Something abstract would be higher than that. So that would not be something initially a concept. So you can try again.
Well, you said Imagine
I
the
said
great.
the greatest concept. What I was saying I can name
Yeah.
I can name flaws within boobs. That's something you said a concept. I mean the greatest concept.
Yeah, that's boobs to me. So where's your evidence of God now?
You know what I'm saying? That boob is physical. I just said if you have the if you get the greatest
Why can't the
concept
greatest thing be physical?
because I like just said the greatest concept would be God. Something that would be non-physical. It's something that is necessarily true. So you know what? So you know what?
Why can't the
You know what?
greatest thing be physical
No,
though?
give me the modal argument for boobs. Go ahead.
Boobs exist in all possible worlds, therefore boobs are necessary. Therefore,
That's not a modal argument. I'll ask you again. Give me a modal argument for boobs.
give me a modal argument
That's a
for
claim.
God.
That's a
Give me
claim.
a
No,
modal
say don't
argument for God.
no. Don't switch the burden. Don't switch the burden. I asked you the question. You're on the affirmative. You claimed that. So I said I'll try
Boobs are
again.
the greatest thing
Give me the modal
imaginable.
argument. Give me the modal argument for boobs again. I'll try.
They're the
Go ahead.
greatest thing. They're
Go
the
ahead.
greatest thing
Go
imaginable.
ahead. Go ahead.
They're the greatest thing
That's a claim.
imaginable.
That's a claim. Give me a modal.
The same thing you're doing with God. All you're doing is saying God's the greatest thing imaginable, right? Stop it. Stop it. All you did was come up here and say God's the greatest thing imaginable. Demonstrate that, right? Give us, what do you mean by greatest thing imaginable? That's the whole point you missed, is that we don't know what you mean when you say greatest thing imaginable. That's just bogus. That's gibberish. So come back and give the evidence, please. Gibberish.
What's your definition on God?
So come back and give the evidence, please. Just give the evidence of God, please.
What's your definition on God?
So come back and give the evidence,
Yeah, I already
please.
said again.
Unbelievable, these people. What do you mean by the greatest thing conceivable? That means
Yo, can you hear me?
yeah.
Alright, so real quick, like I'm a deist. Oh, voice crack. I'm a deist, and it just states like God is like a necessity.
Yeah, please no deists. I don't want deists up here. I could care less if you're a deist. Hello?
Hey, hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Barely.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just wait a minute. Can you hear me now? Better?
Not much.
Uh, okay, you can drop and I'll try later then. Sorry.
Okay, have a good day, bud.
Hello.
Hi. We can't hear you, sir. You sound like you're in a tunnel.
Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately.
All right. Prove to you how God is here.
What?
Prove to you how God is imaginary. That's the question.
Please fix your microphone. We can barely hear you, sir.
Come on. Can you hear me?
All right. When you come back to the surface, let me know. When you get out of the submarine.
Yo.
Yo,
what's good, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you
All
got?
right, good. Yeah, so like you really think God is imaginary, huh? You're that much of an atheist?
Yeah.
Like I get that, like, you know, you're an intellectual or whatever, and these other people you bring on, they do not do Christians justice. So it's like I'm not
Okay.
surprised you like scoff at them.
Thank you, sir. Can you provide the evidence for God now, please?
Of course. Yeah, I'll just start off with like Christ and Christianity is so historical. Like you have to go back to the first church in like Ethiopia, yo. And even in that region, like that's where the first churches of Christ were, bro. And like they have like, you know, like they have so much evidence from them. Like they had like writings on the wall. Like they had their like own like Bibles really that were very in depth like scripturally. And it's like you can't just like ignore that
Hey,
stuff.
how do you, why do you know those things are true though?
Well, I mean, like, I'll just say, like, my head ain't in the sand. Like, you say, like, produce evidence. Like, all you have to do is, like, research what you want to learn about. And
Well, like you could like go next.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, how's it going, man? So, why do you think God is imaginary?
There's no evidence for it.
Then what created the world and the whole universe?
Nobody.
And nobody. Then that's a one hell of a nobody then.
But who created God?
God is infinite. He's nor beginning nor the end.
Okay, then the universe is infinite. No beginning, no end. I win.
There is a beginning. God created.
Prove it. Prove that God made it.
Well, prove that you and me are speaking.
Prove what?
Prove that to me that you and me speaking. You can't prove anything. There's only evidence.
Okay, then give the evidence that the universe was made by your magic wizard on steroids.
Okay, so basically, it's okay. For like an example, like the clothes that you have, all the things that have been created, all the things that have been designed, it asks for a designer. So that's why there is a God out there. Of course, there has to be a creator because it can't just be made out of nothing.
All right. So you're saying, oh look, we have clothing. Clothing is designed, therefore God. But
no, I'm saying clothing is designed from a designer. It can't just come out of nothing. You know what I mean? It has to come out of something. It has to be a something.
But the problem is that the universe could be infinite. In other words, always there. So it's not that something made it or designed it.
If the universe is infinite, who can prove that?
I'm not saying
we have not. No, we haven't even gone out further.
I thought you said you don't have. I thought you said shh. I thought you said you don't have to prove something.
Or evidence.
Right. There is good evidence. There's good reason to think that the universe could be infinite.
Probably
There's
theories.
no evidence to God.
Maybe theories, but not like really like solid evidence of out there of the universe.
Look.
The only thing we can say is that it's created from the Big Bang.
Sir, you're saying that the universe was designed. I want evidence for that claim. Do you have any?
Okay, the evidence of that claim that is asking for a designer. So there is a designer.
That's the claim. I want the evidence for a designer.
So you're telling me you want like paper or studies or throughout and all that evidence for that? That's what you wanted?
Want some good reason to think that there is a designer versus it being natural.
I mean, then what made the whole Earth? What made the whole planet?
Yeah, so this is an argument from this is an argument from incredulity. You're saying what made it must have been God. It's God of the gaps, right? I want something.
Some creation, right? It has to be some creation. Somebody created it.
That's just an assertion. You're just saying there's got to be something. There's got to be a big Santa Claus. There's got to be unicorns out there.
Santa Claus is not real, but I'm just saying.
Well, there's got to be.
I'm just saying.
There's got to be a unicorn, sir. There's got to be Santa Claus. I got presents. Right?
Okay,
that's
then.
What you're doing.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, then my question to ask you then, if it wasn't God that created the whole universe, then what created the universe then?
You keep doing the same thing over and over again, right?
You see, you're not answering my question then. You can't just make this and you can't even answer that question. You're asking me that question, I gave you an answer and you didn't like it. Then I ask you a question, you can't even answer it. I ask you, what created the universe then? What? It can't come out of nothing. That gotta be one hell of a fucking nothing.
I never said it did.
Okay, then tell me, what created then? What created? Tell me.
Nobody
I'm not talking about religion. I'm not talking about religion or anything that whatever that one guy talked about, nonsense. I'm talking about what created then. If it wasn't God, if you think God is imaginary, all right, boom. All right, let's start with that then. All right, then what created?
You're assuming.
I'm not assuming nothing. I'm asking you the question. What created the whole universe then?
There doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be a creator.
So you're telling me, boom, poof. It's just boom, just boom.
That's a false dichotomy. It's not either poof or there's a creator. The third option is
Then
nature.
what is it then? Then what is it? So it just came out of nowhere, like boom, just created,
It's
like
just
snap of a finger.
No,
Like
nobody.
Thanos, poof,
There you
snap.
have to really. Three options, right? One option is that it poofed from nowhere. The second option is magical God did it. The third option is nature. The universe abides the laws of physics, and people and planets and stars evolve through time, and we eventually arise from pre-existing stuff that was always there. And we're the latest. We are the latest iteration in a vast sequence and series of changes. There doesn't have to be a magic man waving his magic wand and poofing us here. That's not necessary. And you keep assuming that it is. It's not, sir. Maybe think outside the box and realize that there's other options that don't need God, right? So come back to the conversation, calm down a bit, and explain to me why God is necessary for creating things.
So while God is necessary creating things, it's the same thing of what necessary to create either clothes, vehicles, and we're asking a designer that designed these products today.
Okay, so you're saying, look, our clothes are designed by a designer. Look, buildings are built by builders. Look, paintings are painted by painters. Look, Mike, those are clear signs of design. However, did you say the same thing about clouds or rain? Is there a rainmaker behind the rain clouds? Is there somebody in volcanoes pushing up the magma? Is there a magma man? Woo, no.
You say by
Not
nature.
Not everything needs a designer.
You said,
Hold on,
I get
sir.
it.
Hold on. Not
Okay.
everything needs a designer. Some things are naturally occurring, like clouds and rain and storms and volcanoes and earthquakes. There's no big ogre stomping on his feet to the ground to make earthquakes. It's just the
What
product
created
of
clouds? What
plate
created clouds
tectonics.
then? What created clouds?
Great question. That's a way better question than who made this. Right?
Okay,
Clouds
what
are
created clouds?
caused by precipitation, evaporation. Water evaporates into the atmosphere. It gets colder as it goes
So
up.
basically,
and
it
then it
gets from
falls
water.
back down again. It's part of the rain cycle.
Okay,
That's how
so it
clouds
gets
are
from
made.
water then. So it gets from water, right?
Exactly. There's
It still
naturally
points. It still points. That's what I'm saying. It
still
still
what?
points to something, not to nothing.
It points
It has
to
to point
nature.
to something.
It points to the laws of physics.
Laws of physics. If it does points to the laws of physics, then what created that?
You're assuming there had to be a creator for that, right? We can go on ad infinitum of designers.
Because I'm sorry, it's because nothing can't just spontaneous create something. It
Well,
just doesn't.
then where did God come from? Who made God?
He's infinite.
Then the universe is infinite.
God did not create the universe infinite.
Well, that's
He
your
lived
assumption
outside-
you're making.
he lived outside of the universe. He
You
lived
have yet to
outside of the
demonstrate. You have yet to demonstrate that, right?
How can, like, you're telling? Okay, look, that's not like a fair question, because how can I demonstrate it? Clearly, I can't demonstrate it. Clearly, you know
Then
that
you don't have
I know.
evidence for God.
Can't
Then you don't
demonstrate
have evidence for God.
But the evidence is shows that it points a designer.
Evidence is
That's it.
indicative. Do you know what evidence is?
Until proven, or not until proven. I'm sorry.
Evidence is data or facts that are indicative of a certain conclusion, right? It raises the likelihood of some proposition being true. That is evidence, and it's verifiable, it's falsifiable by nature.
Understandable.
Simply uttering the word designer isn't evidence, because it doesn't point to designer. You just are simply saying it. There is no evidence either way.
If it does not point, so you're telling me that it just made out of nothing.
That's not what I'm saying, sir. I'm saying it could have always been in some way, and we are part of this process.
Because if it's not made out, because if it really did made out of nothing, the whole universe wouldn't be the way it was.
I don't know. I don't even know what that even means. Again, you're stuck here. You're stuck in this because you don't want to fathom other possible outcomes than God.
Well, then, well, the only thing I'll ask you then, okay, then, if it wasn't God that created this whole universe, then what created the universe? That's it. That's all I'm asking.
All right, I'll do this one more time for you. You missed everything I just previously told you, right? You are making the mistake of asserting that there has to be somebody doing it. Maybe there is nobody making the universe. Maybe the universe is natural. And by natural, I mean no agent, right? There's nobody doing, there's no agency, there's no mind, right? It's just the way shit is. That's a clearly plausible scenario that you are dismissing, right? That's your mistake you're making. You're screening off that possibility because of your intuitions, right? It feels like, oh, there's got to be somebody. And that intuition is so powerful to you that you assert that it's got to be God. But no, there's other possibilities. And when you learn science, you learn other possibilities, right? So come back in. I'll give you one more chance to redeem yourself and give evidence. So go.
So what evidence do you want me to give? I have no evidence. I have none. The only thing we have is historical.
Okay, thank you. At least you're honest. The more honesty, the better off we all are. As long as you're asking good questions and you're honest, great, we all win.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say two things. One, I'm 16, so if you believe that you are smarter than me, you are factually correct. I'm just...
Red flag. You gotta be 18 or plus to be up here. Sorry you didn't have the intelligence to understand that. Arrogance doesn't get you many places. It really doesn't, right? Arrogance is not something you want to have. Sometimes it's okay, but other times it's not. Most of the time it's not okay. Keep tapping the live. And don't worry, I'm not going to say Venmo every 2 seconds and get you to get me money on Venmo. So you got to worry about that.
One and 2003 I can give you my ID if it's necessary. It's just
I mean,
sometimes people
you're
say
cutting
that
out.
looks me one, but
The microphone's cutting out. Hello? Come on. What's going on right now?
Hey man, what's up? Okay, so I have a question for you. Where do you base your morals off of? And this is going to lead to the existence of God, okay?
My morals are a product of me evaluating my environment and coming to conclusions that are indexed via empathy and rationality, and I combine those things and I make decisions based on what is ultimately better for the world.
Okay, cool. So would you have the same morals? Do you think you'd have the same morals if you were born in a Middle Eastern country under Sharia law?
Probably not. If I was indoctrinated, I'd probably be different.
Okay, so one more question, or a couple more questions, and I think it'll get to the point. So, if you were born, or if I was born in a tribe in the Amazon, do we think we'd have the same morals as do we do now? Probably not.
Probably not.
Okay. So, who is right? Whose morals are correct? Because over in the Middle East and certain countries, certain parts of the countries, Sharia law is a thing, right? Grown men are able to marry women.
Yeah, this is a very valid concern. Oh, who's right? Who do we trust? Which one's the better morality? Well, the fact of the matter, in my eyes, is that there is no ultimate morality. There is no fact of the matter about morality. However, how we gauge whose is better is by looking at and analyzing the outcomes, right? What outcomes are better? And that's all going to be subjective, right? What you call better is going to be subjective, depending on your culture, depending on your upbringing, all these things. I think most people, however, when they learn the facts about reality, when they open up the context to these situations, they realize that Sharia law isn't the better morality system. That, a morality system where we care about each other and our bodily autonomy and our lives and livelihood, that is more prosperous. So yes, this is a very difficult question, but the point is that we make subjective decisions about morality. And we don't need God or any moral authority above us.
Well, I think that's a fair point, but I think that, you're a human, I'm a human. I don't think I'm better than you. I would assume you don't think you're better than me morally. So I think that's true, that we do come to natural reasoning of what is wrong and what is right. But the thing is that I don't have a place to tell you what is wrong and what is right.
Who cares? That's irrelevant.
Well, it's relevant because we all naturally come to a natural knowledge of what is right and what is wrong. How? I would say it's it's God-given conscious.
Well, it does not have to be God-given. We evolved a brain, and the brain is the tool we use to come to moral conclusions. But there are many different factors that can contribute to our ultimate moral decisions we make and moral opinions. But all we have is opinions about morality, and that's why we don't need God for anything. You don't have objective morality. You can pretend you do, but you don't either. You're just going based on what God tells you.
Mm-hmm.
That's subjective too.
Okay. Yeah. The next thing I was going to say real quick is that there is a lot of historical evidence of Jesus other than the Bible, because the Bible, from many people's viewpoints, is a fairy tale book, which is definitely they're right. But Tacitus was a Roman historian. There was Constantine, who was an emperor. There's multiple
They are not contemporary. They come after the fact. They are not eyewitness testimonies, and there were interpolations. They were, in other words, priests and the Roman Catholic Church and the Romans and other people inputted the notion of Jesus into those sources. They're not reliable at all. But furthermore, all you do have is a story. That's not convincing to anybody rational.
Well, would you say that over 500 eyewitnesses written, and that the disciples all died horrible deaths for a lie?
No, that's nonsense too. There is no evidence that they died for Jesus. It's nonsense.
So you're saying none of them existed? The disciples or Jesus or none of them didn't?
No, there's no evidence that they died or were martyrs.
Oh, okay. I see where we're coming from. Okay. So if you go to Jerusalem, there's a lot of historical artifacts. The Dead Sea Scrolls, none of that you take into account?
The Dead Sea Scrolls is just a bunch of scrolls that they found that align with what the Bible says. Wow, congratulations. It does nothing for you except reiterate the story.
Okay. But
we need more than just a story, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess everything's just through faith, but I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like discounting there, more discounting than it's harder to not believe than believe. I mean, even statistically speaking, there was over 500 prophecies fulfilled in the Bible. There's been no other religion or book that's ever done that. And mathematically speaking, that's less than 1% chance that happens. So if you're a betting person, or if not you literally, like people, if somebody is a betting person and they would go and put their money down, the highest chance of them winning after life would be to put their money on Jesus just because of prophecies that were fulfilled.
Okay. Jesus, if you're there, fulfilled this prophecy, and please, I predict that Jesus is not going to show up in 2 seconds. 1, 2. Oh, he's not there. That means, oh, I'm right. I just made a prophecy. Maybe I'm Jesus' second coming. See, this is ridiculous. You don't have prophecies. You have foreshadowing. The Bible doesn't prophesize anything. It merely says things in the Old Testament, and then the people said, oh, let me go ahead and put this in the New Testament. There is no prophecies. Name one prophecy.
It said that Israel would become a nation again.
What verse is that?
I can look it up for you real quick.
But look at that kind of explanation. Oh, Israel will become a country again, as it was just before, right? So it's not a supernatural prophecy, right? It's not something that a person could prophesize or predict about the future, right? Right. In other words, it's like saying, oh yeah, there will be wars in 10 years. Well, anybody can predict that, right? That's why they're not very compelling predictions.
Yeah. And I see where you're coming from. But again, what I was saying was that, there's so many that have come to pass.
But so many, but it's so many relative. It is relative. What do you mean so many? And what's the most compelling prediction that the Bible makes that could not have been done if God didn't exist?
I guess my point is that there's no other book. Did you say foresight? Was that the word you used? Correct? Foreshadow?
Yeah, foreshadowing. Yeah.
Foreshadow, yeah. There's been no other high number amount of foreshadowing that have come to existence like the Bible. So even let's say the Bible is just fully fairy tale.
Do you know what foreshadowing means? It means you're making statements about the book that comes later on in the book. It's the same book, right? Cat in the Hat makes foreshadows, right? You can foreshadow in Harry Potter, right? Look, the point is that the prophecies, so-called prophecies, are not convincing because any person could say these things, right? There's no reason why we need some intelligent mastermind to make these prophecies. I mean, Israel will become a nation. Okay, well, anybody can predict that. Any person can predict that. That's not very difficult to say.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I guess the last thing again is just we all have morals and none of us are good enough to tell each other who's right and wrong. I can't go to you and tell you that you're wrong for lying. I have no place. I'm a clump of cells.
You can say that I'm wrong. It would just be your opinion.
Okay. But
so you can say you're wrong. You can say I'm wrong, you're wrong. It's just not going to be objectively the case that it's wrong, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. But it is my opinion, and that's true. I can say that, but it doesn't make it wrong. What makes it wrong?
Josh.
Yeah.
Do you think it's objectively wrong to murder?
Yes.
Okay. If God came down tomorrow and said, Josh, murder your family, would you do it?
No.
Oh. So then even if your God told you to do something, which is where you get your morality from, you still would disobey it. So that tells you that morality doesn't come from God. It comes from yourself.
Well, I was going to say that I don't believe God would do that. I don't believe Jesus would do that.
What if he did? He did, by the way, in 1 Samuel 15, when he literally ordered people to kill each other, the Amalekites. Of course, he commands murder.
Well, but Jesus said that, you know, you've heard that has been said, for an eye and tooth for a tooth.
No. Look, the point is that even if your God, which is your source of morality, told you to do something, you would still not do it, which is a huge hint that you don't have objective morality either. You're just following it. You're just making it. You have an opinion right now that you just happen to align with the Bible to some degree. And you think that's objective because it comes from a book. That's not objective morality. That's just, those are orders you're given by a slave master.
I guess if God was to come down and all his power and all of his might, and he told me to kill somebody, if there was a true God that did that, would you do it?
Fuck no.
But what does God look like? If we talk about the
sir,
existence
I don't
of
care
God.
who he is. I wouldn't murder anybody if I don't have to. That's pathetic.
No, I agree. I'm trying to get to a point here. Go ahead.
So would you? Yes or no?
No, because God would never do that.
What if he did do it? Would you murder?
But it's an unfair question.
No,
Because
it's
if
not
I
a
said-
fair question,
okay.
sir, because it's a hypothetical. It's a logical hypothetical.
Okay, so
I don't see why it would be impossible for God to say that. Logically.
Okay. So if I was to say yes, then I would be wrong. And I obviously, right? Like that's an obvious answer to the question.
You would be contradictory.
Right. Well, I would still be following what a God said. But let's just say the answer is no. That's the wrong answer. And if I say the answer is yes, that's also the wrong answer because then I'm not taking the moral correct statement.
Well, look, you can be consistent, but then you'd have to say that raping is okay if God said it, murder is okay if God said it, holocausting of somebody, people is okay if God said it. You'd have to bite some nasty bullets.
Yeah. But he didn't. That's the thing, man. He said
He does. Your God is not an awesome God. He's a shitty God. He orders the killing of people in Samuel 15. He orders the slaughter of women and children. He kills the entire planet in the flood.
that's
Your
not what
God is
Jesus
not
said.
that.
That's not what Jesus said.
Is Jesus God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well then God said those things, and if Jesus is God, then God's Jesus.
Okay. So have we looked at the historical parts of the Old Testament and how that all worked when God the Father.
There is no, in what context is beating a slave okay? Or selling your daughter as a slave? In what context is that ever okay?
Well, there was different rules for slavery back then. It wasn't the same kind of
You're not answering-
slavery.
Josh, you're not answering the question. In what context is owning somebody's property okay?
So when someone today, I'm going to try to answer this really quickly. Okay. So when someone today says, like, back then they would say, oh, he's gay. It meant he was happy. Today, that means something different. Okay. It means that he likes other men. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not the same.
That's a bad excuse here, because in Exodus 21:20, your God instructs us on how to beat our slaves with a rod. Is that okay in your eyes?
No.
Okay. So then you can't use the Bible as a reason to have your ethical framework that you have. You're being inconsistent, and that's why you should know the Bible is a terrible ethical source. It's a terrible one.
Yeah, there's just a lot of history and a lot of different culture time has changed. It's same. So if we go to the Middle East right now, it's totally different world, you know. And we look at it and we go, that's wrong, but that's how it was, you know. And even when God said,
That's not the point, Josh. We know times have changed. The bigger elephant in the room is that your God, who is supposedly all good, commanded these things. That's the problem. The problem isn't people that changed. It's the God who is supposedly all good and all powerful, instructing us to do these barbaric, disgusting things. That's the problem.
but the people that he was commanding that to happen to were really, really bad people.
Why does that matter? Why would that make it any better to instruct us to beat and rape and murder people? That makes no sense.
Wait,
these
could
people
you
are
say that
bad.
again?
Oh, my children are misbehaving, so let's give them terrible laws to make them more painful. That's ridiculous. That's not what a good father would do. A good father would correct them, not proliferate more harm, not, put fuel onto the fire. That's not what a loving being would do. A loving being would stop those things and correct those things and actually come down and help them and not just sit from afar and flood the planet and make a mess of the world because they did wrong. That's not a loving father in my eyes.
Yeah, and it's complicated, man. I get it. It is. It's a really complicated subject, and I do think that God did make a way. I think that's when he sent Jesus to solve the issue, because the people were so corrupt that God said, look, they're so corrupt, their hearts are turned, they're raping, they're killing, just wipe them out. There's no hope for them, okay? God gives us free will, okay? Then through time, he said, look, I'm tired of the blood sacrifices. I'm tired of this. I'm going to send a way out of this. I'm going to send a way, and that was Jesus.
Oh, so God's plan to save humanity was to take a part of his body, ship it down like Amazon Prime to the earth. That guy got abused and harmed for 2 days, pretending to be harmed, and then 2 days later he goes back to heaven because he's God. He doesn't die, so he didn't sacrifice jack shit for anybody. He's God. He sacrificed a weekend. He went back up to heaven. Then he proclaimed he's the king of the universe, and then the world is still shitty. What did God really do, right? What did Jesus really sacrifice? What did he really help? He did nothing but, acted like a drama queen for a weekend. Anybody can do that. To help somebody is not to come down and pretend you're dying and sacrificing. Oh, I'm sacrificing. You better pray to me now. That's stupid. Why didn't he just help people directly? Why didn't he correct those actions directly? Why is he hiding from us all the time? Why has he got to hide up in heaven? This seems like a story that a child made for, some school project when they got mad at their mom. It seems like a terrible bedtime story, not reality.
So when you say, why didn't he help us, like, literally, are you saying, like, force people to do good?
Why didn't he come down and help and educate people and tell them what the right thing to do is and why it's the right thing to do? Why couldn't he do that?
But he did. Jesus was okay. Real quick. Okay, Jesus was one of the most critical people of other so-called religious people, the Pharisees. He went at him. He told him, "Your father's of the devil." They brought up the Old Testament. They brought up the laws. Things weren't perfect back then. Jesus corrected those things.
How did he correct anything?
Because they crucified him. He gave us eternal life.
What did that solve?
The crucifixion, him being crucified?
Yeah, what did that really do to solve and help humanity?
So when Jesus was on the cross and he was crucified, he literally died. Okay?
He's a god. Gods don't die, sir.
Right. So at that moment,
okay, so he didn't die. So forget the death part. He died for 2 days. That's not a sacrifice. What did he really do to help us?
So that okay. So just give me one minute, real quick. Okay. So he was a man, and God was embodied in him. Okay. He had never known sin. He had never none of the issues we had. He had never had that darkness. He was separate from it. When he was on the cross, all of the sins of the world were placed on him. All of the guilt, all the sorrow, all the horrible feelings were placed on him, and God separated from him. God separated from Jesus then.
All right.
That's when he. Yes, sir.
What did this do to solve and help humanity?
It brought Christianity, which has helped humanity, I would say, a lot in the world.
It brought Christianity.
Hey, but well, here's another thing though. In Revelation, here's another thing though, real quick. Revelations, the Bible, it talks things aren't going to get better. So we're on a path to.
Josh, look. The point is this, Josh. The entire notion of sin was made up by God in the first place. Who wrote the laws for humanity? God. God is the one who made the laws. So by sacrificing himself, what he did was come to earth, he died, he sacrificed himself to himself because he's also God and the man at the same time. And then he saved himself from things that he created for humans in the first place. He put the tree in the garden. He was the one who designed the earth terribly. He was the one who designed people so poorly. God could have avoided all this by making the world perfect from the get-go. Why didn't he just make the world perfect from the beginning? Why did he make everything so fucked up? And why the hell is he hiding? It's 2024. He ain't coming back, is he?
Yeah, so I don't think he made anything messed up. You know, the tree of good and evil, we don't know if it was wrong or right.
So now everything's perfect now, right?
No, not everything's perfect. The issue is when they. I don't want to interrupt you, man. So, if you were going to say something.
Look, your story is falling apart. When you investigate these kinds of stories, it's just mumbo jumbo. It's just people. It's just you're just trying to make it up as you go. In my eyes, it's just way simpler to say, yeah, shit happens. We're here. We're apes on a rock. Shit happens. That's way more simpler than, oh, there's a guy who became half human, half man, half God. He sacrificed himself to himself to save himself from the things that he created for the humans that he did. I feel like you're just adding too much nonsense. You know?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is going to be kind of like, what the heck were you talking about, Josh? But does Hitler deserve to go to hell? Or is it justified that he just doesn't exist anymore and doesn't have to pay for all the wrong he did?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, yes, I think if there was a hell, I don't know exactly what hell means, but if it's a place where you go to be punished forever, yes, I think Hitler deserves it. But at the same time, in my eyes, he didn't get that. So there's a dilemma. Well, why don't bad people always get punished correctly? And the answer is, the world isn't perfectly just. The world isn't different to us, Josh. The world doesn't seem to care about us. We care about each other. And that's all. And that's why we look for justice. We look for Hitler to be harmed. We look for our enemies to be harmed and our friends to be saved. We look for these things constantly. And that's why we made up these stories about Christianity. They make us feel comfortable in all the madness. But when you recognize that the world isn't different, the world doesn't really care about us, we just happen to be here trying to live our lives together, and things evolve. Morality evolves, people evolve, the world evolves, and we're just part of this process. And that's as far as I think is real. Anything more than that, I just don't have the evidence for.
Yeah. hey man, fair enough. I appreciate you letting me talk. And any comments in here that become hateful or, judgmental, that's not true Christianity. The worst thing someone can do is put their faith in Christianity. The best thing someone can do is put their faith in Jesus. And that sounds kind of stupid, but if people think about it, it'll make sense, okay? I appreciate it. Let me talk to you, though.
Yeah. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Put your faith in Jesus. What does that really mean, right? Why, instead of putting your faith in Jesus, why not put it in people? Why not why not really help people instead of putting our faith in some guy who died on a stick 2,000 years ago, who doesn't give a shit about us anymore? And there's no evidence of that. It makes more pragmatic sense to, instead of focusing on religion so much, we focus on people and the world, the real world, and we really think about the things we're doing instead of putting all our trust and faith and hope in this magic man that has no evidence for it. That's all I'm saying. I think the world is more prosperous when we think about the consequences to our actions and not just pretend God is going to help us one day.
Ahoy, Captain. Hello?
Hi.
Hi. So you is your position is that God is imaginary?
Yeah.
Okay. Would universal be imaginary?
What?
Universals.
I reject universals. I reject universals.
How can you reject universals?
Universals? I don't believe in universals. I don't think there's a property in the universe of yellowness or redness. I think that's just something that is purely perceptual. It's not a property of nature.
Okay, so is truth subjective or objective?
Depends on what kind of truth. Analytical truths are objective. They are definitions.
It doesn't matter. Just truth.
There are different types of truth, sir. See?
There are different types of truth, but would the truth but that it doesn't matter if there's different kinds of truth. Okay? What matters is it true?
Look, you got to
like
know
would blue be blue?
Different types of truth. Look, do you know what analytical truths are or synthetic? Do you know do you know that distinction?
Yes, I do.
What's the distinction?
I'm not here to give you distinctions. I'm here to challenge your worldview.
Look, John, it's okay if you don't know. I'm not trying to do a gotcha.
No, I know. I'm trying to do the gotcha, okay? I'm the one challenging, okay?
What? Okay. Well, just give your argument for God, please.
Okay. So, if there's no God, then how would logic happen?
Logic is just a brain process. It's how we think.
How?
Neurons in the brain work in networks, and they interact with each other in ways that perform certain types of semantic analysis that we call logic.
So do you think there was a mind that created that?
Nope.
Or do you think everything a product of evolution? So stuff just became from stuff.
Yep, that's how physics works. Physics 101.
Okay. All right. Well, if stuff became from stuff, then what stuff created the first stuff?
There is no first stuff, just like there's no first God, right? Stuff was always there.
Well, then how? No, that's not even the evolution position.
The evolution tradition? What is this?
No, position.
Christmas?
Position.
Position? Oh. This has nothing to do with evolution either. I don't know what you're talking about.
You already claimed that.
I think you're confused. when I
Well,
say
I'm not
when I
confused,
say
dude. I think you're confused because you can't even answer any of my philosophical questions or just the basic stuff, dude. You can't answer the basic things.
how ironic.
Yeah, how ironic.
Look, John. When I say stuff is always there, what I'm saying is the universe, all the space and time, could have been always there, infinite, and there is nobody making it.
Yeah, but that's not the evolution position.
What's evolution?
What's evolution? It's evolvement.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be correct?
No, sorry, I laughed, guys. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, go ahead, laugh, dude. I don't care.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed.
No, I don't care, dude. Go ahead.
Evolution refers to genetic changes over time. This is something we observe in our DNA. But
Evolvement.
it's a separate thing from the universe being infinite. So the point is that
But that's not the evolution. That's not the evolutionary position, dude. That's not the position.
Evolution is just a process that happens to things. It's not a start or a beginning or ending to anything. It's just a process, right?
No, you already do have a process.
Okay, I'm done. Have a good day, John. I try to entertain it for a little bit, but I sometimes feel bad for people who are just blindly following whatever people say on TikTok or Twitter or Instagram.
Come on, Mark.
Hey, what do you got for us?
Well, just you said God is imaginary, right? A lot of times I see people talking about this stuff, but they never give any credit or look at stuff about the Higgs boson.
Okay, how does the Higgs boson have any relevance to God?
Well, because they actually named it the God particle. Some of the most renowned astrophysicists in the world, Stephen Hawking, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Mike Essel, a lot of some world-renowned people are saying that the Higgs boson is what gives mass to all particles in the universe.
You're wrong on both accounts. So first of all, the God particle was not named the God particle because it has to do with the Bible or the Quran. It was called that name as a joke because the person who opposed that view called it, the Big Bang or something, and then people used the God particle name. It was a separate person who made that up, that made that name up, and it got adopted over time. But it doesn't matter. The point is that the Higgs boson is merely a particle of nature that gives rise to some mass in certain particles. Not all particles, not all mass either. It's just a particle that exists in space and time. This has no relevance to God at all. It's just a particle like any other, right? So I'm looking for evidence of God now.
So if you're looking for evidence of God, so nothing significant has happened in your life that isn't having any explaining or reasoning behind it, that you can't say like, hey, look, this happened for some unknown reason, but it was truthful, like it was factual, it had some kind of binding to your life to where it was just like, how can this possibly happen?
There are things that in my life that have happened that I can't explain to this day. But it doesn't mean I have the right to say it's God or this or that or X or Y or Z. I don't know, and that's it. And that's a proper position to have. If you don't know something, you can't say God did it.
Okay, so you guys are talking about evolution, natural selection. So obviously Charles Darwin was on the Galapagos Islands, and this was probably about 10 years after his daughter died from, I think she had either Bell's palsy or cerebral palsy. Charles Darwin was actually a Protestant at the time, and when his daughter passed, 10 years after the fact, he came up with natural selection, saying that the survival of the fittest. Evolution, after they said multiple years, multiple millennia, I should say, thousands, if not tens of thousands of years, these finches developed longer beaks so they can access grubs and certain types of cactus
I
or
understand. I
cacti.
understand natural selection. What is your point here?
My point is people have had burdens or hardships in their lives, so they turn away from God, their higher power, their inner being. So if you look at
Okay, Jen,
Charles
so
Darwin's,
look. I just want evidence that God exists, please. What's your evidence that
yeah, the Higgs
directly links
boson
to
is the
God?
evidence, but you've kind of danced around that topic, saying that it was taken from somebody. The Higgs boson is what gives mass to all particles in the universe, and that's a
Wow. He's all over the place. No, the Higgs boson does not give mass to every particle. And that's irrelevant, whether it did or not. It doesn't mean God did it. Go learn, please, right? Go please learn science, go learn more. That's ultimately all I care about. I don't really care if God exists. I just want people to recognize things
Hi.
is good.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me? My name is Alex. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
So, can you hear me?
Unfortunately.
Okay, so when you say God is imaginary, which God? First off, there are thousands of beliefs and thousands
Okay.
of different
So
deities.
what's your belief, sir?
Oh, I can't really share my belief because that would take me. It would take me a while to. So
Okay, have a good day. Bye. Holy shit. I'm scared. I'm scared, guys. Hold my hand, please. All right. Hello?
Hello, good night. Yes, Mike, you hearing me?
Yeah.
You hearing me, Mike? How is your
Yeah.
night?
We hear you.
How is your night?
How's my night?
Hello?
Good.
Yeah. That's very good. I am here to posit the counterpoint to your premise that God is imaginary. You're hearing me?
Yeah, we
Mike?
hear you, sir. You don't have to ask it 3
Alright.
times.
Alright. Atheism is false because it use concept like transcendental categories that cannot be accounted in a materialist view. Hello?
Okay, so you're saying transcendentals cannot be accounted for as an atheist?
In a materialist view.
Okay,
Only.
and why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why do we need transcendentals?
Because to have truth, like the same thing you claim that God is imaginary, you need those categories. So if you cannot account for them, your worldview falls apart, sir.
Yeah, so I reject that transcendentals even fucking exist. I think that's just nonsense.
Alright, I can
Number one.
explain
Number
this to you.
number two, truth as an atheist, as a materialist, can be explained through just basic physics, nature. We can use nature to explain why there's truth.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you made
But
an
I
assertion in the
consider
beginning that it's impossible for me to be an atheist. So show the contradiction.
I can show it. A transcendental category is the regularity of nature. Before a process to be finished, it needs the regularity of nature to proceed before that. That's a transcendental category, sir.
The regularity of nature.
Yes, the regularity of
You have
nature.
that
So when
without
a tree
God.
grows, Mike, when a tree grows, it do not turn into a rabbit. Do you understand the regulator?
Yeah, there's order in the universe, which can be explained through
Mhm.
nature. I don't know why you need to add
Yes,
God there.
and please tell me on a materialist view, where can I find that concept or transitory category? Where under nature
We
can I
don't need
find it
transcendentals,
concrete?
Leslie, we don't
Mhm.
need transcendentals. All we
That's
need is
not an
truth.
argument. We do not need it, but I can say we need it and end the argument there. That's a fallacy, sir. Please explain to me under your worldview, where can I find it in material, please?
Find the truth in the
Where
brain.
can I
The
find it
brain.
in
The
material?
brain and the neurons. The neurons.
Oh, okay. So you are telling me that because it is in your brain, so you're telling me that if humans do not exist, trees are going to turn into rabbits, sir? You're so
No,
stupid you
that's
are.
confusing the map for the territory. So if
So the concept is different. That's what you're
Leslie,
saying.
hold on, sir. Hold on, Leslie. Let me try to
All
explain
right,
this to
talk.
you. Okay.
All right, I give you the floor, please.
Logic is just a descriptor for reality, right? So yes, logic comes from my brain, but it doesn't mean that if I didn't exist, logic would no longer exist either. No. Logic could still be contradictory. You could have rapids become trees. That's not what I'm saying. That's a misunderstanding of what I'm saying. Logic is merely descriptive of nature. Nature exists regardless the way it does. But the purest, the ontology of
Sir,
nature is unknown to
Look,
us.
I correct you.
Logic is
I
just a
correct you.
description of it.
I can correct you. Can I correct you? Can I correct you? Mike, hello?
Go ahead, sir.
You hear me?
Please. Go ahead, please.
I didn't ask you that it's a description of outside reality. I am asking you under your materialist worldview, tell me where I can find a transcendental concept concretely.
In the brain.
Please, because
In the brain, sir. In the brain.
all right, and then I ask you back. If the brain did not exist, would rabbit become trees? Because regularity
I
of
just got done
nature.
explaining this to Leslie. I just got done explaining
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But it's a stupid explanation, sir. And I can tell you
That's not
why.
an argument, Leslie. Can you just
Can
listen?
I tell you why that's not the
Oh my
argument? I can
gosh.
tell you.
This is why you're using the tag argument in 2024 because you don't listen. Logic is descriptive. It's a label, right? Logic is how we label reality. If the labels don't exist, it doesn't mean that the reality doesn't exist either, right? It's just a label. It's like McDonald's, right? McDonald's is just a label for the store, for the factory, for the, restaurant. If we don't call it McDonald's, the restaurant would still exist, right? That's how logic works. Logic is just a label we put onto nature. Without the logic, nature would still exist. It's just that nature, what we call nature, is not fully understood. Does that make sense? That's all. I'm trying to make it easy for you guys. It is difficult to talk about. All right, one more victim here. Seeming tired. Thank you guys for the gifts, and please subscribe to the YouTube. Link in bio. I post all my debates there, and a lot more stuff is on there too.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi.
I'm wondering what your thoughts are on, like, if you like, are you afraid to go to hell if you die?
No.
Imagine tomorrow you fall from the sky and you die. What happened then? You think you just die?
Yep, I think I just died.
And what do you think about nigger sex?
I can't stand you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So, I mean, I just want to understand, like, why would you think God is imaginary in a sense? Of what? Like, what made you think He's imaginary?
Yeah, there's no evidence for it.
What about creation? How do we get here? How did everything set up the way it is? I mean, there has to be a cause for causation. Causation, right?
It sounds good. It's natural to think that everything was made, because we make things as people. We make cars, we make houses, we make cakes. So it's natural to think that everything else was made, but not necessarily that's the case. It could be the case that the stuff around us was always there in some way, and we are the products, the latest iteration of changes that have occurred.
So you're saying that things happen just because? I mean, there has to be something. Like you said, we make some stuff, right?
They
For
happen
that to
because of
happen.
the laws of physics, right? There are parameters by which the universe works within, and we happen to be the result of those workings of nature.
But okay, let's start at the beginning. Let's speak logically. Forget religion, forget everything that we know about scientific theories. Logically speaking, for something to happen or for an effect to happen, there have to be a cause, right? And for so in that aspect, for me to move an object from one side of the room to another, I have to be present. I have to be capable of moving that object from one side to another, right? That object is not capable of moving by itself.
Okay.
So following that logic, the universe won't be the way it is unless there's someone capable of establishing it the way it's supposed to be, so everything can function and rotate and be in its own way of system.
Problem. This sounds like the argument from the first mover.
Right,
Exactly. Moving, and there has to be some person starting the motion in the first place.
There has to be not a person. Sorry, just to correct you a little bit. There has to be
a mind.
Yeah, an agency that's capable of understanding every aspect
The problem with
Mind.
this argument is that it presupposes Aristotelian metaphysics or physics, when in reality we have now since learned relativity. Motion is relative. There is no absolute motion in the universe. And if nothing is absolutely moving in any absolute sense, then everything could be seen as static. We can view the universe as not moving at all in its totality.
But from what we know, it is.
This is called Einstein's block universe. That's one solution to this issue. The other solution is, okay, well, maybe the universe in itself is infinite. Maybe the universe is infinite or cyclical, so that there is cause and effect, but it's cyclical. It goes on and on forever in a cycle, right? There are different ways around this first mover argument.
But all this is limited, though, right? Even our knowledge of the universe and the way everything functions is limited. We're still learning as we go on.
Even your knowledge are limited.
Yeah, but like to a certain extent, even the theory of relativity during Albert Einstein's time, it wasn't believed, it wasn't proven. It was like, okay, it was a theory, right? It was
I
just
agree,
like,
but look, the point is that we have other logical possibilities that you're discounting, right? You're saying no, this can't be the case. It must be God. So
listen, we don't know what God is. Okay. So my point is that I think from my personal understanding of what I've seen, even myself as a creation, there has to be something that is beyond me, beyond my capabilities, beyond my knowledge. Who's so there has to be a force who's omniscient, who's
Why?
omnipotent.
Why does there have to be
Because that logically speaking, that's what makes sense.
Where's the logic?
What do you mean?
Look, what's the argument that shows there has to be a
There
first
has to
mover,
be a
there has to
force,
be
and
God?
that force is God.
That's
Whatever
that's
we
a
name it,
that's
whatever
that's
you,
a
whatever.
fallacious argument, though, right?
Huh?
You're just asserting God. I want a logical argument that
Yeah,
follows.
logically speaking, yourself. Look at yourself. Look at your creation around you. Like, how is something like this so perfectly set? Okay, look at our creation from human perspective.
Look,
The way
Corey,
we
look,
set
look,
up
look,
life,
look,
the
look,
way
look, look,
we created certain things in our need,
look.
shows that there is an advanced civilization.
I understand where you're coming from. You're looking around the world. You see people, civilization, cars, trees, planets, stars. You look around and you want to go, who put this here? Right? That's very natural. It's very natural to do. When you don't understand the full context, of course you're going to say this. But when you understand the fuller context of the world, when you learn about relativity, when you learn about the fact of planetary cosmology, how the Earth formed from smaller fragments of rocks and planetesimals, when you learn the nebular hypothesis, when you learn abiogenesis, when you learn about evolution, you have a better way of understanding how we arose, how we got here, and how we evolved. That's what you're missing from your calculus. You're missing the fact of what preceded us. Billions of years before us happened, sir. We are the latest iteration of changes, and there will be more after us. The world will not remain the same when we die. It will change yet again. And this will always happen. In my eyes, it could be cyclical, it could be infinite, I don't know. But the point is that you don't need God for any of this.
Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Everything you mentioned, the concept of obviously physics and the biology of it, yes, I'm not disagreeing with that. We don't know, we're still discovering a lot of things, right? But in reality, as humans, our knowledge is limited, of course, but we are capable of being conscious and understanding the logical sense of it. Following that logic, we understand that there have to be a force behind all this. Even if we believe in Big Bang theory, there has to be a force that sparks that energy. Does that make sense? A force that is
force could be
beyond.
something natural. Let's say you're right. All right.
You can't mute me and then put your aspect out there and then not let me finish. So let me finish and then I'll listen to you. Okay. So my point is that force is God in my definition, because God is something that I don't understand, but I know He's beyond my knowledge, my power, and He's something that is beyond what we know, beyond our dimension, beyond our.
I understand where you are.
So therefore, God is not imaginary. There has to be something that is capable of all this, even if it's a Big Bang theory.
I understand.
So what made you say God is imaginary if you understand all this aspect?
Because you're not quite understanding. I agree with you that there is some entity, whether it be the universe, nature, unicorns, leprechauns, there's some entity that's responsible for this place. But it doesn't have to be a magic god from the Quran or the Bible. That's the problem, right? The force could be natural. It could be the universe itself. It could be infinite. And hence there maybe is nobody beyond the universe. The point is that there's other possibilities that we have to be open to. And that's why we're having these conversations.
Okay, so the conversation is like God is imaginary in terms of religion, not in terms of entity. Okay. Even in terms of religion, I think religion is a way of us communicating with God. Does that make sense? It's like God trying to reach out to human,
I
knowing
think
that,
there are
okay,
far
let
better
me,
ways of communicating, like phone
look,
or
I understand.
email,
Look,
not a
let's say,
book
let's
of
say,
ancient
okay,
fairy tales.
for
That's not
example,
the best way to communicate.
okay, let me give you an example. Let's say there is an alien, a life that is beyond our understanding of life and everything. Like they are far more advanced, right? They can't just appear. Like, let's say there is an entity that just teleports to your room and then trying to communicate with you and say, like, look, I'm from a different planet, blah, blah, blah. You should do this, you should do that. Would you really go for it? Follow that entity and be like, okay, yeah, everything you said, I believe, and just go along with it? You won't, right? You will have questions. You'll be like, how
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
teleport here?
So
How did you get
what's
here?
your
So
point? What is your point?
my point is that God cannot just appear to us and say, like, look, I'm God, I'm the creator of all
Why
this.
not?
It
Why
will be
can't he do that? He's God.
hear me out. Hear me
No,
out.
no, Corey. Shh. You believe in God. He's all powerful. God, if he exists, knows exactly how to convince me that he's right. He's God. He's not an alien. He's God. He knows exactly how to convince me. So he has every ability to reveal himself to us. He's hiding from us for no reason. He can reveal himself to us in a way that's perfect for all of us. He's all powerful. That's the problem in your view. There's a lack of evidence. He's hiding. And it's not necessary, right? Those are the elephants in the room. So I'll give you the last word here because I'm really tired.
All right, fair enough. My point is that, yes, you might think that God is hiding from us, but in reality, have you really questioned yourself? Am I letting God in, or am I actually being open-minded and trying to understand that the way he's communicating is different because of certain things or the amount of knowledge that you are capable of understanding? Sometimes you just have to calm down and, like, maybe open your heart to it. Like, you don't have to believe. Personally, like, I'm a religious person. I do read
I'm open, God. I'm
but
open to
in reality,
please God, communicate with us and come in my heart.
I wish it's that easy, right? But in my point is that sometimes the way certain entities communicate with us can't be the way we want it to be. Does that make sense? That's why sometimes you have to be more
Well, then
mindful.
how do you know
Maybe
if you're
you have to
communicating
be more
with God
mindful
or
and
your
not shut
imaginary
off.
friend? All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
When you resort to this kind of agnosticism on this issue, oh, we don't know how God will communicate with us. Well, then you just undermine your entire epistemology. Now you have no idea if you've seen God or you heard from him or not. You can't distinguish God's revelation from an imaginary friend you made up in your mind's revelation. That's the problem. You can't falsify God. You can't demonstrate it. You cannot verify it. That's precisely the issue. And that's why I'm an atheist. And I'm tired. So I have just time for a couple questions and I got to go to bed. Stop, I'm not disrespecting your father. You're just mad because I'm debunking your religion. Let me get that microphone. What is love?
Love is a very amazing thing, but it's not magic. It's just a process in the brain, a chemical process, a secretion of certain chemicals. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. And the reason why it feels so great to us is because your brain is responsible for those emotions, for those experiences and memories. It's amazing, but it's not magic. It's nature, physics. What causes that? These are good questions. What causes that? What causes that? Well, fundamentally, we can just stop at nature, called the laws of nature. That's it. We don't have to go further, right? We can just stop at nature itself. Asking these questions could be asked about God. Who made God? What caused God? I mean, if you think God is infinite, then why can't the universe be infinite? And look, these are very, very unanswerable questions. We cannot answer these questions. What's the ultimate answer? We don't know. And that's why I don't spend my time asking these questions too much. It's a waste of time, largely. I focus my time on learning about what we can know about biology, physics, science, planets, stars. That's something we can do. And that's a better use of our time. And that's another reason why I do this, because religious thinking is inefficient thinking. You're asking bad questions, you're not focused on the real tangible solutions. You're focused on the problems. So religious thinking is a very inefficient thinking in my eyes, and that's why I promote science. Because it's a way more disciplined kind of thinking that leads to fruitful results and solutions. I mean, the phone you're using, the car you're driving, the road you drive on, all of those are products of science. People using their minds. Religion can't do the same. Religion's stuck in time. It's a book of stories that it's useless in any modern way. And anybody can do science. It's something everybody can do. It's just a way of thinking. It's a way of thinking that makes the world more colorful, more optimistic. It's not just observing. Science is more than just observing things. It's a way of thinking and asking questions and poking things and seeing what happens. It's an experience. It allows you to distinguish fact from fiction. It allows you to determine who's lying to you and who's not lying to you. It allows you to gauge whether or not a statement that you see online or Twitter or social media is false or not, right? Science is extremely powerful. It's a tool that's useful in many different ways. And we ought to be more literate in science. We're not anymore. Not many of us are anymore. And more deeply, science does something to you. Science, when I learn something about black holes or galaxies or magnetars or neutron stars, that does something to me, right? It's like peeling away a layer at a world that you've never seen before, right? Science does something to me. Something about learning something that I've never seen before. Looking at the world from a different point of view that I've never seen before, that does something to me. And that continuous process makes me feel alive and great to be a person and a human and grateful to be here and appreciative of it. So science is more than just observing things. Much more. Can science explain everything? Well, it may not be able to explain everything, but it explains a heck of a lot. And science always builds upon itself. We're always improving our science, getting better at it. Science is always improving. Religion will always be wrong. Religion can't improve. Religion cannot adapt. Religion is inert in every way. Religion is intellectually inert. There's a new perspective, a scientific perspective. And here I'll show you a couple reasons why I enjoy science so much. Let me see, where is it? Oh, here it is. Anybody know this? You guys see that dot over there? You guys see it? If you look really closely. Really closely, take a look at it. Yeah, there we are. That's Earth. That's our place. That's home. That's it. That's all we get, right? That one little dot. This perspective does something to you, doesn't it? That changes the way you see things. On that dot, everybody you ever loved, everybody you ever known, every emperor, every king, every peasant, every mother, every child, every war, every couple in love, every single thing happened there. This shows you how precious and fragile and delicate we are. This little rock, this little dot floating, just in the sea of darkness. That's something powerful when you reflect back on what that means for us. It's it shows you how we should cherish this place. It's all we get. We don't have another Earth out there, as far as we can see. The universe has more stars than grains of sand on all the beaches of the Earth combined. There's too many. There's so many things out there. Yet, nowhere in the universe is there another you or another me. This is it. All we have is each other. And that's why this cosmic perspective illuminates the responsibility we have to help each other instead of harming each other, right? Imagine if everybody had this understanding. Imagine if everybody on the planet were reminded of this every day. Would we fight for land in Gaza? No. Would we be racist? No. Would we be so quick to hate each other? No. We wouldn't. But this, understanding, this understanding of the world does something to you deeply. That makes you want to hug others instead of harming them. It makes you want to understand each other more instead of being so quick to hate and harm them, right? That's all. And this is something that, it should be natural to us to do this, but we forget. We forget to look up. We forget to look up sometimes, and we're always looking down, we're always looking here, but we're forgetting about what's up there. right? So looking up in space and seeing what else is out there helps you learn about who you are, right? Going to other worlds, going to other places helps you understand yourself. There's a lot out there to learn, and that's why every time you learn through science, you become even more appreciative of what you have. Right? Every time I do science, every time I learn something, I gain appreciation for things. And yeah, I don't need God for that, right? And this is ultimately why I do these God lives, not because I care about if God exists or not. Those are dumb questions. What I care about is how you think about the world around you. Are you thinking about the world in a bigger way, right? Are you thinking about the big ideas? That's what I care about. I don't spend my time wondering about if God exists every day. I don't think about God. I don't think about the idea of God outside of these lives. Right? I do this to help other people. Because I was asked one time a question. I was once asked a question about my belief in God. I used to be Christian. I used to believe in God too. And it was one question that was essentially the snowball that started to roll down the hill to make me think and led to my current perspective. And that was empowering. It was extremely powerful. And that's why I try to do this for other people. And that's ultimately all I'm doing. You know, it's not to polarize things. It's not. And that's why I stopped being so abrasive, because the current social media the environment today online is so polarized. Everybody hates each other. Each side hates each other. They demonize each other. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. Right? I want to start uniting as much as I can. You know. So that's all. Just want to spread a good message. I don't want to be. I don't want to be the one to be the arbiter of truth. I'm not here to say I know everything. I know the answer. I'm simply trying to show people a new perspective that they perhaps would not have otherwise seen if it wasn't for someone like me. That's all. Because I really do enjoy the world. I really do enjoy life. Every day I'm so grateful. Every day I wake up as an atheist even. I'm an atheist, right? Atheists aren't these nihilistic, pessimistic, sad people. I'm extremely happy and content in my life. I'm extremely grateful and purposeful. And that's all I'm trying to show people, that you can be an atheist and be happy. You don't have to let go of your happiness or even this deep feeling of spirituality. Or reverence. And that's really what spirituality means, right? It's like a reverence for the world. You can still have that even when you leave it, even when you leave religion. And in fact, the world becomes even more colorful without religion.